I was just asking Babushka what pride flag they were representing today.
I totally didn't go for a pride flag. I just thought I'd like some green and red and blue today. And so I completely just went with that vibe.
I feel like that's Babushka pride then.
Babushka pride.
Hello, I'm Sister Alaska Lot.
And I'm Sister Babushka.
And this is Utter Nunsense,
The show where we pour a cup of boiling hot tea.
And we utter whatever nonsense pops into our heads.
As you may have guessed by now, or already know, this is a laid-back chat between friends.
And we upload a brand new episode once a month on the first of the month, every month. So make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get notified of new episodes when they arrive.
We have a very special guest along with us today. Welcoming back, Brother Bimbo!
Yay!
Hello!
Oh, we're so delighted to have you back. It's been a while. And for Pride, no less.
I'm dressed.
You're bang on topic. Unlike Babushka.
Right, well, I know I'm not needed then. Bye!
We'll have Joan instead, though. She's always on trend.
Always Joan, never Babushka. So, for this episode, since we're kicking off Pride season, we thought it would be really interesting to hear from Brother Bimbo what their first Pride was as a sister.
Now, we don't know exactly what Brother Bimbo's first Pride as Brother Bimbo was, but we do have an inkling that there may be some stories in there, maybe a bit of tea, a bit of shade. Like, we'll find out.
There's some stuff you might want to edit out, yes.
Sorry to all the viewers, you're getting the edited version. We're going to get the full version.
For the history, of course.
So I suppose, actually, before we jump into the bit about Pride, it'd be interesting to know, when did you become a sister? Like, how long have you been doing this for?
Since June 1999.
So it was actually during Pride season.
Yeah, Pride was the 19th of June 1999. It was Pride Scotland. And I'd been henching for a while, but it was my first time out as a brother.
Very exciting.
We would be doing a sainting of St. Tim of the incredibly long Latin name that nobody, not even St. Tim, can remember.
So actually, as a first time manifesting as a brother, that's quite an exciting one to do.
Except the spanner in the works was that this was Scotland in June. It was a wee bit blowy.
For anyone not familiar with Scotland, we have weather.
The wind and the gales and more wind and sidewards rain and all the usual stuff you don't want on Pride Day.
How joyous. This must have been one of the earliest Scottish Prides then.
There was one, I think, in the late 80s. But the first Pride Scotland as such, I think, was 95.
And so your first time attending was 99?
That was my first Pride as a sister.
Being your first time as going out as a sister was so close to while Pride was still finding its roots in Edinburgh and as Pride Scotland, because obviously that's not what it's known as today, but yeah, I'm just marvelling at the sistery more than anything at the moment.
So the festival was on the meadows, and it was basically lots of tents and gazebos around an area with a big stage at one end.
Okay, so a bit like the Meadows Festival, but for Pride.
Yeah, it was quite an ambitious Pride. But no, the scene was very, very different then. The age of consent, I think, was still 21 for gay men.
Goodness.
Remember, in Scotland, it wasn't made legal at all till 1981.
Yes, it was quite late in Scotland, wasn't it? I feel like Scotland's done a slight turnaround in a sense. We were very late with letting go of some very outdated laws, and then somehow started overtaking some other bits of the UK. And now we're seen as more progressive than other bits of the UK. Not that we don't have problems, because we still have some issues. But to be ahead of other parts of the UK compared to, it used to be the other way around, I think, is quite interesting.
Even since I've been a sister, things have changed a lot. When I started, AIDS was still, people were still dying, and it wasn't an unusual thing to happen. I mean, now, yes, people are still dying, but we're shocked when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some treatments, but they were a bit rough, and you had to be really, if you weren't the sort of person who could take your pills at exactly the right time, it was really difficult. And the side effects were terrible. Now we have effective treatments. We have very effective prevention in the form of PrEP. It's changed a lot. I think things are a lot better now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I suppose then Pride as an event in Scotland must have changed a lot over those years as well.
Edinburgh always tried to be a community pride, and it was usually Glasgow who would go for the big party, because it used to alternate between Edinburgh and Glasgow.
Like it would go from one city to the other each year then, rather than what we've got now, where we've got one happening in each city in the same year.
And there was always a big contrast between what Edinburgh would try to do and what Glasgow would try to do. Whereas Glasgow now has 3, doesn't it?
3 Glasgow, 1 Edinburgh, and then multiple across the rest of Scotland as well.
Now we have all the prides.
So we set up the gazebo as planned. I think the plan was that some of us were going to go onto the march, but because of the weather, that didn't happen. And I was working as a brewer at the time, so I brought some pink beer, which turned out to be a good idea and a bad idea. Pastor Best decided that obviously the pink beer was there for us to drink.
Okay.
And started on it quite early. We were also sharing the gazebo with Scots Gay.
We should probably explain what Scots Gay is for anyone watching who doesn't know.
Was a magazine and a website, and will hopefully continue to be a website, that was a community magazine that had reports from the different cities in Scotland about the scene, just general health and community stuff.
There was a connection then between Scots Gay and the sisters?
The editor, Pastor Best, was one of our sisters.
Oh, okay. Handy.
So we basically had 2 gazebo-y things next to each other. So anyway, it was windy. And the only thing that stopped our gazebo blowing away was the cask of beer, which effectively held it down.
I mean, what else is beer for?
But of course, the cask of beer is getting gradually lighter.
Oh no.
Mostly into Pastor Best, as far as we can tell.
And so was this getting gradually lighter during the setup phase?
I think it mostly got lighter during the festival. It got a bit vague because of the cask getting lighter. And there are certain houses that never drink on duty, and sometimes you can see the wisdom of that particular rule. So anyway, we didn't go on the march. And then when the time came to do the silence and noise and the sainting, we were invited back to the green room, where we were plied with gin and tonic, I think from a sponsor.
It was just topping up the beer, was it? Can you tell us more about what the silence and noise is?
Yeah, well, one of the things that the sisters do at Pride is a lot of Prides, especially then, had a minute's silence to remember those who had passed from AIDS in particular. The sisters' feeling is that, but these are people we knew, people we loved, people whose lives are worth celebrating. Let's think of the happy memories that we have, because they brought joy to our lives. So the noise is to celebrate their lives, and also to remind the world that people living with HIV and AIDS aren't going away and aren't shutting up.
I like it. Is it something that all sisters do, or is this an Edinburgh specific thing?
I think it started with the Edinburgh sisters, but there's a few houses now that do it.
Yeah, I really like the idea. I think it's something that definitely should continue.
I mean, one of the problems with the minute silence is that you're leaving people like,
Yeah.
So, bringing the joy back into it.
It's what we're all about. And you said there was a sainting as well.
Yes, Tim Hopkins of the Equality Network, who, as is implied by his current saint's name, chose this Latin name.
Apparently nobody can remember it.
Occasionally, whenever we were doing something, we would have to contact him and say, what was your saint name again? And eventually he forgot. So it came to the point where it was Saint Tim of the incredibly long Latin name that nobody, not even St. Tim, can remember.
What's the context of sainting within sisters?
We honour and celebrate the people who have worked hard for our community whilst they're still around to appreciate it. I mean, it's all fine saying how fabulous somebody is once they're gone, but they don't get to hear that.
It's very true. It's more about the celebration again, isn't it?
Yep, St. Tim certainly has worked hard and continues to work hard for the community. So it's all impressively vague, but I remember being terrified on stage while the silence and noise happened and the sainting happened. And obviously, because this was my first time out as a sister, I was basically in the background looking pretty.
Of course.
And of course, this Pride, well, in fact, before Pride, in June, we're doing another sainting again.
Yes, quite. It's obviously the time for it.
So this is hopefully, exciting times coming up.
So you were on stage for the minute's noise and silence and for the sainting. So what happened after that?
The gazebo really blew away. And the remains of it, they're in Pastor Best's basement.
Oh, that's hilarious. We've just kept the last bits as a memory.
The bits that were tied to the cask, yeah.
Have you ever seen that viral video of a trampoline getting blown about in Scotland? And there's this guy standing at the window going, oh my God, trampoline.
Oh my God, trampoline. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
That's what I'm picturing.
I mean, the stage was a professional one, so that was fine. All the various community groups were trying not to blow away.
What happened after that?
One of the visiting sisters had rented a minibus, or maybe borrowed one. That would be more our style, wouldn't it? We're driving from the meadows where the festival was to the basement to put all our stuff away. And one of the visiting sisters is having a disagreement with the sister who happens to be driving.
Do you remember what the disagreement was about?
Erections, I think.
Oh my.
Then as now, Edinburgh was having its Edinburgh International Festival of Roadworks.
Oh God.
It was like a maze, how to get there from here.
When we say erections, you mean buildings?
Directions. You've got erections on your mind, sister.
Oh, I'd heard erections. Oh my days.
I was like, oh, that is scandalous. Sisters arguing about erections.
I mean, sometimes, doing the sister thing can be very, very stressful. And we're an organisation full of strong personalities. And often we could be a lot better at dealing with our differences of opinion.
Take note, Alaska, next time we have a disagreement over the show.
Next time we argue about erections.
I wasn't snatching your veil. I was holding it back so you could see.
Not while driving.
We concur.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think driving as a sister is slightly awkward anyway, mostly because you've got stuff. But then when you're trying to have a disagreement with someone at the same time.
Oh, there was a fun time when Sister Lashes LaRue was driving us back from a Glasgow Pride. And there was like 5 sisters in a car about the size of a matchbox car. And she suddenly realises she's not pinned her veil back. So she's looking. And all she can see, unfortunately, the sister behind realises and grabs the veil and pulls it back.
That's the technique. We need to remember that, Babushka, next time we're driving to a Pride. Just hold your back.
You pin your veil back like that.
I don't put the boobs on at all while driving because the volume often means you can't turn your head in the car to look in your blind spot. So just take it off.
The only time I was driving as a sister in habit was in Orlando. I didn't realise that America had small windy roads like ours. So I'm driving on the wrong side of the road. They're terrified because I'm driving on the wrong side of the road.
Wait, were you on their wrong side of the road?
No, I was on their right side of the road, but
okay.
It's a dark, windy road. It's just like a British country road, but with Florida drivers on it.
Oh, Florida.
But I had fun at that event.
So being the designated driver pays off.
Yay. However, coming back to Edinburgh.
The plan after all that, once we returned the remains of the gazebo to the basement, was to go out on the scene and give out packs and generally do our thing. I think that was the same night. I've mentioned this before as the incident with the leather dyke and the Ned.
You're going to have to tell the story again.
So one of the troubles we have as sisters is less than polite people, shall we say, who wish to yank on our veils. And this wee bam tries to yank off Sister Bobby's veil. Unfortunately for the laddie, he did this right in front of a visiting leatherdyke from San Francisco.
Ooh.
A leatherdyke who knew who the sisters were, had a good deal of respect for the sisters, and was absolutely appalled by what she saw. So she dealt with the matter in the way you would expect a butch to deal with the matter.
Like a pro.
Security totally failed to notice. And I think they actually chucked out the guy who'd started it.
That's
what they
deserved.
Once he'd recovered from and picked himself up off the floor.
I mean, it
Really?
says don't mess with the sisters.
I mean, I'm very surprised I hung around after this day.
Oh yeah, of course. It's your first experience.
Some good first memories, right?
Sometimes I think we should rename the show to Tangents and Waffles, because that's all that we actually do. You get half hour's worth of content for the episode, but the actual recording is 4 hours.
Tangents and waffles fit into nonsense. It's all one giant cloud.
Lots of waffly nonsense.
My actual very first Pride was a few years before in London. It was really bright and hot and sunny, which would have been lovely had I not been wearing a fishnet top.
Oh,
Ooh.
did you burn in a lovely fishnet pattern?
I burned in a lovely fishnet pattern.
Oh no.
At least you were still fancy when you were naked.
Of course, as a sister, you get to go to prides all over the place.
What's been your favourite pride to be at then as a sister?
Oh, good question.
It's hard because they're very different. Yeah, the home pride in Edinburgh is probably my favourite, just because it's here. In recent years, the sisters have been quite involved in it.
That's nice, though, that Edinburgh's probably your favourite then.
There's one in Eureka, California, that is totally chill. It's all the stereotypes of Northern California.
What makes it so chill?
You know, again, pitches up their little gazebos and stuff. And the local sisters there had a tent behind the gazebo, which was deliberately set up as a sister chill out space.
Nice. Does Sister Babushka have a favourite pride?
If I was excluding Edinburgh, because obviously there is the joy of having, pride on your doorstep, and it's easy enough to get to, and all my favourite sisters are here as well. I would say maybe was it Fife or West Lothian? Was this West Lothian, the one that we got totally soaked at?
West Lothian.
I don't know why. I just found it very charming, and I think it's probably just because you're used to it happening in Scotland, where it will start out nice, it will end up raining, and even then, everyone just seemed so happy. So I think it was just the atmosphere at that pride that I thought. But I've not had many prides as a sister, considering we've been trapped indoors for most of my time.
There was a community vibe to it. It was very wet, but enjoyable nonetheless.
Yeah, the West Lothian Pride I did, the music forgot to turn up.
Oh.
So a bunch of local teenagers just took it upon themselves to provide the entertainment. Then they
Brilliant.
just got up and sang songs and
Oh,
made their own entertainment.
I love it.
Very different atmosphere to the big prides.
I really enjoyed East Lothian Pride. It makes me very sad that it was basically a one-time thing, because I think it was their first physical event, and that was 2019, and then there was COVID. So I think it was a one-time thing, but it was very nice.
One-time thing for now. It could come back one day.
Babushka's going to get on the case. It was like a garden party with rainbows.
That sounds fun.
It was really nice. We just sat and had picnics, and there was someone singing. I can't remember what it was. Oh, what were they singing? Was it Elvis?
It was a Bon Jovi impersonator. I mean, I imagine Puerto Pride, because it's the first Pride for Portobello this year, that will probably be quite chill compared to what we'll see at Edinburgh, where we know it's a lot, it's bigger scale, so it will have more things happening. So we'll get to experience both the small and the big Pride in our own city.
Well, I was expecting the story of Bimbo's first pride to be much more scandalous, which makes me wonder what I was expecting, because somehow I was still expecting more.
So one of the oldest things that the sisters have done for Pride is our Pride Survival Guide.
I think that's why I know the pace yourself throughout Pride if you are going to drink as a sister. Because I think there was one or two lovely images in there that reminded me of how rough it could be.
Our very hard-learned lessons.
And we thought they would still be relevant to Pride today. So for anyone who's going to be attending Pride this month, some of these tips might help.
Pretty much every piece of advice in our Pride Survival Guide is based on when we didn't heed that advice.
Do what we say and not as we do.
Some of it is very boring common sense. So making sure that you don't get up apart from your friends and that you do actually have your friend's mobile phone number. Check the weather forecast to whether you need an umbrella or a parasol and bring both anyway.
Essential in Scotland.
So essential.
And Edinburgh is full of cobbled streets. Doing the march in 6-inch heels, probably not a good idea.
Babushka.
I mean, there are some queens who are fabulous at it.
I have not done 6-inch heels in Edinburgh. I've been sensible in Edinburgh.
Did you not wear heels to Edinburgh Prides?
They're more platform go-go boots. That's not the same.
I've done platforms. Platforms are a lot easier.
I'm pretty sure there was still like aching feet at the end.
There was definitely sandals with a wedge, and that definitely hurt after the day.
And the other thing, of course, is if you're wearing a skirt and you don't put tights underneath, you're going to chafe.
Chub rub. Wear shorts under. Or tights or something.
Or talc or that, or that special gel you can get. That works really well.
Or all of the above.
And I noticed my fishnet top story made it into the guide. You have a decent breakfast. Yeah, because you're not going to get to eat all day and then you're going to drink. And remember, we have all the Johnnies.
We do have all the Johnnies. Plenty to spare.
Too many to spare. Give them away now. Away, everyone.
It talks about embarrassing photographs on Facebook. Where do the young people of today put their embarrassing photos?
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat.
I think probably the best advice in our safety guide is right at the end. Most of all, be yourself, be proud of who you are, and have a really good time.
Yeah.
That is the best advice. What a great note to end on. A big thank you to Brother Bimbo for joining us today and
It's been fun.
taking us through memories of prides gone by.
Well, vaguely memory-like things.
As much as you can remember when you've had lots of beer.
I feel we're going to have to get a badge at some point for most recurring guest ever. I think this is episode 3 now, so you're clearly a fan favourite.
Yay!
I mean, I think it's been a lovely chat.
Especially the bits that aren't going to come out.
I think it's been really lovely to hear all those different experiences and hear these little snippets of, prides gone by, and especially in comparison to some other prides around the world. So no, it's been lovely. And I thanks so much, Bimbo, for the experience to hear this.
I'm really excited about being able to go to prides again. I promise not to start drinking till it's late on, and I'm going to pace myself. I think finally, at my grand old age, I'm finally beginning to learn that lesson.
That's okay. I'm sure that the younger members of the house can make those mistakes and you can sit there wisely and nod going, yes, yes.
Ultimately, with the Pride Survival Guide, one of the things that we're pointing out is that as sisters, we are in fact human, apart from those of us that are space aliens. And we still behave like human beings.
To everyone who is going to Pride, or even if you're just celebrating at home, happy Pride, everyone. Enjoy
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride! Yay!
Happy Pride.
And of course, after Pride season comes the next episode of Utter Nunsense.
The show that never ends and is always coming out, Utter Nunsense. Next episode, we're going to be doing a discussion about the behind the scenes of The Black Veil, the short BBC documentary that came out last year featuring the sisters.
And focusing on one sister in particular, which is Sister Babushka.
Sister Joan! It's Sister Joan!
Babushka is everywhere.
Sister Babushka was a star of their very own documentary, which is available on BBC iPlayer. So we're going to do a behind the scenes episode next month. And as the name might suggest, one of the key things that featured in the documentary was Sister Babushka getting their black veil. So I'm sure we'll be able to hear lots more about what that means, why it's important, and how that went down during COVID.
Yay, we can relive all the memories of COVID.
If you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and leave a comment, because it helps the algorithm and it helps it get the episode out to more people, so more people can discover and enjoy the nonsense. Because we're so desperate for the likes.
We just need external validation. So tell your friends, tell your loved ones, and tell your enemies too. Everyone's welcome here.
And don't forget, this is also available as a podcast, and you can go and like and follow the podcast as well, which is available in all the usual places that you find your podcasts.
We did the thing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing. We did the thing. We did the thing. We did the thing. Did the thing. Did the thing. Did the thing.